Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name's Joe Kuzma, and joining me, finally, over here by my side on that side, one Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, man, we've missed you a little bit. What's been going on?
I went to jail.
Yeah, I see that. It's a little obscured there. Yeah, the lower thirds got you, and there we go. Shawshank Prison. And
I had to go out and get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah, that's Mansfield Reformatory, right? I've never gone there, actually.
The Ohio Mansfield, or the Ohio Reformatory, or the Mansfield, Ohio, I don't know. Does it say it on here? It probably does.
Mansfield,
down there at the
Ohio.
bottom.
Yeah, it says Mansfield,
Ohio.
Yeah. I've been
anyway. Yeah.
There's not much else going on in Mansfield. Sorry to my Mansfield.
There's a Skyline
people,
chili, so that's all good.
Well, that actually works in your benefit. I know you're a big fan of the Cincinnati chili, and it's more cheese than chili.
Well, and that's the key.
Yes.
The key is the cheese. See, you can buy a can of Skyline chili. I can buy it here in Jersey. I can go to Wegmans and I can buy a can of Skyline chili. I can bring it home. I can cook it up. Tastes just like Skyline chili. What you can't replicate are two things: the onions and the cheese. They have the best damn onions, and their cheese is ridiculous.
I don't do the onions, but I agree with you on the cheese. I was just at, there's a lot of things that have been going on since you and I have talked. Ozzy Osbourne passed away, and I did a show, and it was like the next day, I think, but I didn't mention I went and saw Pantera in Cincinnati, and it was literally the day that Ozzy passed away. So Pantera had played in that back to the beginning show, the farewell show for Ozzy and Black Sabbath over in Birmingham, England. And we got a little piece of that from Pantera. Did a little tribute. They did one of the songs. I always screw up the.
I could tell you that everybody was doing that.
I think that's what it was called. Yeah. So yeah, there were several bands doing it, but it's really cool. Bands that have either been influenced or have actually played, like Zakk Wylde being in there, and then of course me on the wrestling end a week or so ago with Hulk Hogan. That one hits too, because I actually met him like a year ago or less than a year ago, and that was. So they just keep falling like dominoes. Theo Huxtable passed away, and stuff like that. A somber start to the show, but the reason it jogged my memory was it was like, of the food item choices at the Pantera concert, Skyline chili was one of the better options for the cost or whatever, unless I wanted some like really dry chicken fingers and fries that have been sitting out on their way up for a while.
I don't think I could do Skyline at a concert. That'd be rough. I don't think I could handle that. I can't eat that in my seat, like at a show. I have to be sitting at a table.
Well, they had like the standing kind of tables that you could meander around outside in the main concourse area. There was one of the amphitheater setups. Very cool, very loud concert, as you may imagine, packed elbow to elbow. But I digress. Something that may not be as packed that we need to talk about, but we finally got, is we're going to have an actual football, almost actual football game. You put like those asterisks on them.
Football.
It's
just watered down to a certain extent.
Which we're used to now with all the preseason, or with the training camp stuff. We should probably cover a little bit of camp updates. Of course, I was out there for the weekend as well, the Friday Night Lights. Almost 14,000 people. Let me tell you, man, it was jam-packed. The stands, when it started around 7 o'clock, even before 7 o'clock, 6:45-ish or whatever, there wasn't a place to sit. There was barely a place to stand all around the track, around the field. And then the players come out to sign, and this year we were spared of the Najee Harris million-mile walk from one end of the field to the other, straight down the middle, so he can take his time and not sign anything. It took him 10 minutes to walk like half the field and not make it anywhere. But we were spared that this year because Najee is no longer with the team. Just about everybody I noticed signed, including Aaron Rodgers, mostly just for kids, obviously. But he was absolutely mobbed. And then, we go from there, and we're kind of into preseason game and just kind of the stuff that's been going on with camp, Brian. And I'm sure you've seen and heard some of the highlights, some of the players. Not everyone's going to be playing in this preseason game, so it makes kind of a note to, the standouts aside from what I'd already mentioned. Rodgers continues to actually look, much to my surprise, if you see this in person, he looks damn sharp out there, and it gets better day by day. And there is a very clear tier. My chiropractor is a Bengals fan, so I was speaking with him today about it. I said, "Yeah, I was out of camp," and he was wondering. I said, "There's a tier between an elite level quarterback of Aaron Rodgers, even at his elder age now, his elder statesmanship, and then an experienced quarterback like a Mason Rudolph." And then Will Howard and Skylar Thompson. And Will Howard, he just fractured his hand. He broke a bone in his hand. We're not going to get to see him, I think, this entire preseason now. They said about 3 weeks. Stunts some of his development. He doesn't get more training camp. He's going to get some mental reps, which is what he gets during the season. There was one of the worst takes that I saw online was somebody who said this was going to derail his career, because this was it. If he played in the preseason against guys that are going to be grocery baggers in September, this was going to define whether or not he gets a shot next year, because they're already anticipating the Steelers will absolutely draft a quarterback and Will Howard will be shoved down. They never heard of practice during the regular season or a scout team or anything like that. It was just such a terrible knee-jerk reaction to this injury, though, it deprives us of seeing Will Howard on our television or in person. It does not deprive the Steelers coaching staff from developing him and seeing him, during their regular practice sessions.
Yeah, they got a 18-week season where they'll have plenty of time to determine if Will Howard has the capabilities to step up, or that they at least see the right kind of performance from him to move forward. We call draft season the season of lies. I'm not sure preseason and training camp isn't the season of lies too. Maybe every month of the year is now just the season of lies. I don't know, because I'm telling you, unless you I envy your ability to get to camp this year, because unless you see it for yourself, I don't trust anything I've been reading, right? Either Will Howard is a phenom and is the next coming of Big Ben, or everything is terrible and he's the worst thing that they've ever done and a complete waste of a 5th, 6th round draft pick, whatever it was. I mean, the takes on things are just all over the place. The offense is doing well. The offense is terrible. The offense is terrible because the defense is so good. No, the offense is just terrible because the offense is terrible. Anything you want to find out right now that fits your desired perspective of where the Steelers are, you can find somebody that's going to support it. So I'm disgusted with it, to be quite honest.
You know what? Some of this it's hilarious. I every now and then, the other half, Heather, has me sometimes using she's using the AI tools. So I start playing around with all of them. Gemini, ChatGPT, Microsoft's got the Copilot. You put anything sports related or breaking news into it, it's usually wrong. I've seen these things say we're looking forward to Kenny Pickett playing this year for the Steelers are starting. So you gotta be careful where it's pulling the sources from. And a lot of the folks that are writing these things, they're not there. Pay attention to something like Steelers Nation Radio, for example. Listen to Matt Williamson and some of the guys that are producing that show. You get Max Starks and some of these guys that give some opinions that are boots on the ground, myself included with this. Will Howard is probably where Mason Rudolph was back in 2018 when he was drafted. Rudolph was a 3rd rounder, Howard a 6th rounder, a little bit of a difference between those two, obviously, but for the most part I see the same kinds of things from Will Howard, and the moment isn't too big for him. That was the biggest take I had with Mason Rudolph. You see some of the young quarterbacks that come in, sometimes they're just the camp bodies, and the moment is too big. For Howard, though, I think the speed of the game is still a little quick, a little fast-paced, a transition for him, and he's going to make some mistakes there. Maybe he holds the ball too long. When you hear something like Aaron Rodgers threw a pick or whatever, you'll hear somebody like Matt Williams. I think it was I was replaying this morning the previous practice, that's the replays, and he said, well, maybe he doesn't attempt that throw. Maybe he's working on something. It is practice. And so when I had this whole, I give a speech about this every year about the stat tracking and everything. Howard, to me, still, there was somebody that had Skylar Thompson could be quarterback 3 now because Will Howard's hurt. The only way that happens is if, well, number one, Will Howard would have to be put on IR and miss the entire season. If he goes on IR now, it's over with. He has to make the 53 in order to then be placed on IR after making the 53 and then be eligible to return, which is the most likely scenario because they want him there on the bench. These guys that are on IR generally don't travel with the team, and they usually, when they pop up and they might go to a home game, and they're not always participating necessarily when they're on IR because it depends on their rehab, depends on the whole process. So Will Howard is going to be quarterback 3. Skylar Thompson, I'm going to say this much as politely as I can, is a very clear and distant QB4 on this roster. The delineation, if I said that right, whatever the word is.
Delineation. I believe is what delineation is what you were striving for.
The dilly. We forgot about it's been a minute since the dilly's been a thing. The dilly.
Yes, it has.
The dilly between these guys is like, it's Rodgers, and then there's a gap, and then it's Rudolph, and then there's a gap, and then there's Howard, and then there's like several gaps, and then it's Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson, for having some NFL experience, is not impressed me. Now, he may get some opportunities now. It's being with a new team, a new offense. Again, players that are on the bottom half of this 90-man roster right now that probably aren't going to make the team. So that's part of it. Brian, the other part I think we need to talk about before we get into any kind of preview and talk about what we might see or what we might want to watch during this upcoming game is that what you said. The defense does look good. The defense looks damn good. And I think it's an iron sharpening iron kind of thing. They're really playing well. And I've been really impressed with Darius Slay. I've been immensely impressed with Jalen Ramsey to the point of I have forgotten Minkah Fitzpatrick was part of this team just a month or so ago. The trade, getting John O. Smith. Look, the guy who criticized me in the comments, it's part of my accent, dude, okay? I've got some of the Rust Belt in me, so I try to say John New. If you listen to the guys on radio, they say the same crap. Jim Miller kept calling him Yaya Black instead of YA Black. He didn't know pronunciation. It happens. So somebody was roasting me about it. I just had to get that out my system.
Man, they clearly haven't watched long enough to know that I can't pronounce anybody's name. I struggle with Dave. Is that Daave? I can't. Is it Daave? I forget it. I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, or my government name, Joseph. Very biblical there, Joseph.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that I believe I've been able to pick up universally is that Derek Harmon is a stud in waiting. I have not read one negative thing about Derek Harmon thus far. And I actually looked for some, but I haven't been able to find any.
Yeah.
So that should make a big difference. If Derek Harmon is as advertised and all of a sudden that D line becomes way more powerful and overwhelming and just stifling, the defense becomes that much better. And it opens up. We've talked about it ad nauseum for however long we've been on the airwaves or the virtual airwaves, whatever the hell you call what we do. And, it's the D line benefits the defensive backs. The defensive back can benefit the D line. So as those guys start to work in tandem and you have one group that is really dominant, it's going to help the whole group.
Yeah, totally in agreement with you. I'll also say that Warren Thornhill, I think I mentioned this on the last show that I did solo from the hotel out by Latrobe, out in the Laurel Highlands. Very beautiful view. I had the very hilly view out there. I wanted to put it in the background, but I was on the side of the hotel where the sun just shines like right in through the windows, and then you just saw a lot of parking lot from where everyone was too. So I didn't get to put
we'll
that in
see
there.
what our background is when we're in Ireland.
Oh, that'll be nice. Well, we don't know. We don't know what it'll be like. We could just have a brick wall behind us. It's like in an
I don't know
alley.
what the hell it's going to look like. We might not even have windows. Who knows? Maybe we'll be in jail.
Yeah. Well, as long as there's a bed and somewhere to sleep, it's better than nothing. But you got me derailed now. But I've been very impressed with
my
the defense.
job, man.
Nearly the same. I was going to talk about the rookies, but let's talk about Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's talk a little. There's not much in it for preview with these preseason games, as I write down some notes on what to put here. Starters. I don't know who we're going to see on either side of the ball. Here we have Aaron Rodgers. Do I expect him to get any series? There's only 3 preseason games. I don't anticipate usually the first week to see somebody like a Jalen Warren or an Aaron Rodgers, or we might see some year 2 guys like obviously Zach Frazier. With the injury to Will Howard, I think we see more of Mason Rudolph than maybe was even penciled in originally. It might have just been more Howard than even Rudolph, and more maybe even Skylar Thompson to close it out for this game. So as many of the guys that I've been excited about, Smith and Freiermuth and Caleb Johnson and Warren. Well, Caleb Johnson we should see as a rookie, right? That's one guy we should definitely see get some reps. But some of these guys, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, even Ramsey, Slay, Joey Porter, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith. We may not see them all in this first game. It might be the following
Highsmith
week.
we probably won't see, right? Didn't he hurt? Didn't he get one of the injuries?
Yeah. Highsmith. You got a bunch of guys on the defensive line, various, mostly bottom of the roster kind of guys, because they brought Braden Fehoko back. Kyler Baugh was immediately, I think he threw him 65, which was Dan Moore's old jersey. He was immediately out there during Friday Night Lights. He was looking feisty too. And this Daryl Porter that they just signed too is also getting his nose into some things. And he's a second generation player. So you never know. You never know. It's just an opportunity for some of them, but I don't expect a whole lot. It gets me to who are we going to see more of? Who do we want to see some more of? Well, I wanted to see Will Howard, obviously. Yeah. But I think the guy that I really have hopes of seeing, 2 players in particular during this whole mix. And one of them is Y.A. Black. He is just, when you see Darnell Washington, I'll have to talk about Darnell some too. And then you see Y.A. Black. Who'd they just bring in, or who was one of the veterans? They were like, don't put him alongside me. He makes me look tiny. He makes me feel uncomfortable. I forgot who was quoted as just saying that, but it was hilarious. It's so true. This guy's a monster too, Brian. They may have found somebody pretty late here, rookie from Iowa. And then another guy that a lot of people felt was a wasted pick, Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. Captain Jack.
I am looking forward to seeing Captain Jack. Not because I think he's going to, be the next coming, but I've just watched him enough over the years at Ohio State. The guy's got a motor. We know what he can do, and I'm rooting for him to translate and to take those next steps. So I kind of want to see it. Do I think he's going to be that guy? I don't know, but I'm excited about the possibilities because I just like the way the guy plays.
Yeah, he's been making some plays. He was one of the only guys I don't think I got to mention this because it was Friday Night Lights. He was one of the only guys I saw that I say almost because nobody's been beating Darnell Washington and backs on backers. TJ got stood up by Darnell Washington. Alex Highsmith got stood up by Darnell Washington. They brought Jack out there, and Jack was about a second. He had the bend. He was about a half second, split second away from being the only guy to beat Darnell Washington. Nobody was beating Darnell Washington. And talking about this preview, we might see Kenneth Gainwell some too. I've actually gone from this guy being a bottom of the roster, maybe not making it, to I think he's got a spot for sure. And it's not because, like, as you see some of the conflicting reports and whatnot, of, well, Caleb Johnson isn't doing so hot or something like that, right? We see all that kind of stuff. I was scratching my head about it. It was a fantasy thing. They were like, well, don't take Caleb Johnson. I'm like, depending on how deep your rosters are in your league, Caleb Johnson should probably be on there, because I don't know that Jalen Warren is an every down guy, and durability, you don't want to wear him down over 17 games. But Kenneth Gainwell, on the other hand, and he confuses me because he's already got 14, George Pickens' number. So but he's got some pop to him. He's got some pass pro, and he's going to be a guy that's used in the pass game, used on special teams. And I bet you he gets some carries here. And the other one, another Ohio State guy, I don't want to sound like a homer, but Trey Sermon's had a pretty nice camp too.
Okay.
I think, yeah. So keep an eye out for Trey Sermon. Doesn't qualify really as a rookie, but it's somebody maybe to some of the players to keep your eye on. And as I guess kind of what to watch or something here. Who do you get from Jacksonville on their side? Travis Hunter play? And that's kind of exciting because it's the first game for him. Is he going to play both positions? He's going to play offense and defense.
I mean, do I really want to watch Travis Hunter? No. But if you're going to watch for the love of the game, you're interested to see what this guy can do and how he's going to look out there in the professional rankings. But I don't care. I won't pay any attention.
But it'll be in the highlights, and it'll be against the Steelers,
yes.
And we'll see.
Well, hopefully not. That's the key. Hopefully there won't be any Travis Hunter highlights. I will be much happier if at the end of the day they go, wow, Travis Hunter played but didn't have a great game.
Well, okay. So in speaking about that, and you're talking about Trevor Lawrence got that huge contract, right? Jacksonville's backups are Nick Mullins and John Wofford, and then they got another guy, Seth Hennigan, at quarter. I don't know who's going to throw. Hunter might have to throw the ball too.
Well, maybe. Yeah. Can he just play? It's like Bugs Bunny baseball. It's like Travis Hunter at quarterback, Travis Hunter at center, Travis Hunter at tight end.
and I don't know either that they still have Travis Etienne. They got Tank Bigsby. When you're looking at some of the other, Brian Thomas might not be a guy who plays a whole lot either. Hunter, I think, just for the sake of the live reps. Defensively, Trayvon Walker and Eric Armstead, who has come over from San Francisco. Who else is on this roster? Let me see here. Darnell Savage came over from Green Bay. So they got quite a Jordan Lewis from Dallas. They got quite a few, some veteran players here that I don't expect to see very much of in this game. So you're going to see a lot of 2s and 3s, probably a mix of that. If you get any first team reps from any of the first team players, I don't know. It would be exciting to see Aaron Rodgers, but I think that debut is going to come the following week when they have the one preseason home game in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. He's not going to play a ton regardless, right? Guy's 41 years old, 40 whatever, too. He's not going to be spending a lot of time in preseason games. So if he's going to play any at all, it makes sense to do it at home and see what he looks like. Yeah. And that being said, I feel like I've got like the Bill Belichick hair going on here. I don't know. Maybe like I just look disheveled.
Well, that goes without saying. I mean, I forgot about somebody, and we're gonna get to see maybe some players that we didn't get to see for a while. Maybe we get to see a little Cole Holcomb. Maybe we get to see Roman Wilson, who's been making some pretty big catches, and the Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry trade talks, the Micah Parsons trade talks. I think they get shut. Some of this stuff just gets shut down. The Steelers have shut out so much money for so many different players and made so many moves. I think we're discounting not only Jonnu Smith's. You're gonna have to enunciate on that now. His addition, and that's not to say that Pat Freiermuth isn't involved, but they're using a lot of 2 and 3 tight ends. Darnell Washington's getting an awful lot of looks as well. There's not a lot of room for, I think, an extra wide receiver, but when they do, Calvin Austin has been having a really good camp. I remember with his rookie year, he caught anything that was like really thrown his way. Robert Woods is still pretty veteran. He gets some looks here or there, usually with the 2s. Sometimes he gets to sneak in with the 1s, but Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin have been there and getting some throws too from Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, they've been throwing to other people. Brandon Johnson, who's probably like an outlier to make the roster. Rock Taylor, Rock Taylor's one where people get super excited, made like a one-handed grab, but he just doesn't. I don't think the opportunities are there. There's just such a bottleneck at the wide receiver position that guys like Ben Skoranek and Scotty Miller and they're expected to play up, to do varsity things against JV players, to steal some Mike Tomlin quotes here, and that's probably what we will see from them in this game. But the other guys, in order to make a big, long-lasting impression, I don't think we see a whole lot from Austin. We're going to see probably Roman Wilson because he barely played last season. The guy never really got in, and he's been making some plays at camp. He's turning some heads, and I think that's where you're at when it comes to, would the Pittsburgh Steelers make any kind of a move, trading with the Commanders for a Terry McLaurin? McLaurin wants over $30 million a year. And I know when you're not paying a quarterback right now that you have some of the simoleons to maybe shell out for another high dollar player, but I don't know that he's 30 years old. I don't know that he moves the needle much. Let's see what Wilson, let's see what Austin and some of the other guys bring to the table, particularly in these preseason games.
Yeah, I don't put anything past Omar at this point, but what they would have to give up in a trade for McLaurin or for Micah Parsons, I just doesn't seem viable to me. So I don't discount it. It's certainly a possibility. Well, let me put it this way: you have to consider it a possibility based on essentially what they've done over the last 2 years, right? If this was 3-4 years ago, we'd go, oh, it's never going to happen. Forget it. Why are you even talking about it? It's all BS. It's noise and nonsense. You can't really say that anymore. So, is it within the realm of the possibilities? Sure, it is. But I still don't expect it to happen. I think that they want to know what they have right now. Because I do think next season, I think they are trying to compete this year. Whether they will succeed or not, we will wait and see. You got Bucky Brooks out there basically, trying to call his shot and be the guy at the end of the year who can go, I told you so, if they happen to do it. But I do think that they are looking towards that 2026 draft and understanding that this team's going to turn over a lot of key positions between now and then. So, hey, if you can win while doing it, great. But we'll see.
I think the other thing to pay attention to in this game, maybe our final point, and especially early on, left tackle. Roderick Jones has been dinged. You've got Dylan Cook, who's been around the last few years, hanging around on a practice squad, but you also got Spencer Anderson, who's ascending and kind of splitting time when Jones hasn't been out there, splitting time with Cook. Something to keep an eye on. Anderson's wearing 74. What's Cook wearing these days? Just some guys to keep an eye on. Big Broderick's got 77. So 77, 74, and what the heck is Cook? He's got like 60 something. Why can't I find him on this list? Of course, 60. He's wearing 60 right on the nose. So keep an eye on that, some of the reps and how they perform. Because if you do have like a Trayvon Walker or somebody out there and they beat Cook like a drum, like a revolving door, next week Cook might not be, no matter what these depth charts say right now, Brian, take them with a grain of salt, because they're not locked in. They're not real. The rookies are all thrown in on third and fourth stringers right now for the most part. And the starters and the veteran guys who have experience are it's done by seniority more than reality of how this depth chart will play out this Saturday.
Makes sense to me.
Yep, I know. Any other closing thoughts? I mean, it's a preseason game. We probably won't have a whole... We might have some stuff to talk about, but our eyes have been deceived before with these preseason games.
Look, what was it, 2 years ago where they just stomped everybody? Maybe it was 3 years ago because Kenny Pickett... 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we got fooled. Preseason looked dramatic. Kenny Pickett is going to be the guy. We go every first series, touchdown. Oh, they look amazing, fantastic.
Buffalo. Yeah.
And then we get to the regular season and they look like crap. Do I really want to, make any predictions based off of preseason games? No, but I will trust my eyes a little bit when we watch these games. But overall, I don't think I can make determinations on this team until we're at least 2 or 3 games in. By the time we get to Ireland, I'll have some idea of whether we're going to have a happy trip or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped. I'll say the people that are jumping on board have all seen the same thing. The excitement, like just the moves that the Steelers have made. This went from being like a camp in a year where it's like, well, they might tank for a quarterback pick or something like that in next year's draft. And that is no longer the case, I believe. They've still got some ways to go. And you see what the arms race is around the, especially the AFC North, right? Noah Fant goes to the Bengals, so they add like an extra tight end dimension to their team, along with Mike Gesicki was already there, got extended. They finally got Shamar Stewart inked. They got Trey Hendrickson to stop being fined and show up at camp. We'll see if he plays. So the Bengals, a problem. The Ravens, always a problem. You know how they added Jair Alexander, they strengthened their secondary, stuff like that. But the Steelers, I think, are trying to do something unique, and I think as long as they can play some complementary football, not only the offense sustaining some drives, which I believe they'll do, I think this is built to help also sustain and preserve Aaron Rodgers for a full 17-game season. And he has still got some quick release. He's still got some zip to the ball. He threw one that was 30-plus yards in the air. And it's not that moon ball that, somebody's just waiting to snag out of the air like with Russell Wilson. As opposed to Wilson and opposed to Fields, and I'm sorry if I'm a broken record here and repeating the same things that I said, on the last episode, but he gets rid of the ball. His decision-making is sharp, and it's much faster processing and dissecting what's on the field than the previous quarterback regime from last season. So I'll leave this with the thoughts, Brian. Just 3 players that we're looking forward to seeing should they play in the preseason. I'm going to get your thoughts here in a second. I don't want to steal yours, but you've already heard me say YA Black. I'm very much looking forward to YA. You were laughing.
That was just funny. I'm very much looking forward to YA.
YA. Now you made me forget the others. I'm looking forward to Roman Wilson, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Caleb Johnson can do. So I've got, 2 rookies on here and a player that barely played last year. But that's who I'm looking forward to, that I think will get some significant reps and be able to maybe ball out in this game.
I will tell you, I want to see Derek Harmon. I want to see Derek Harmon be a force against at the initial part of it. I want him to do varsity things against varsity people, right? I don't want to see him dominate JV, although if he's in with JV, I would anticipate it. So I am looking at really at the defensive grouping, the defensive line grouping as a whole, because YA Black is one guy I want to watch. Derek Harmon is another guy I want to watch. So I'm going to be looking heavily at the defensive line. I am interested to see what Caleb Johnson looks like. Is all of this concern about the offense not being able to run the ball simply because the Steelers' defensive line is so much better than it was and is dominating our own offensive line, or are they just not good? And is it him, or is it that the offensive line still hasn't gelled and isn't doing the job? So I am interested to see what he looks like. That's probably where my focus will be.
Yeah, you know what? I'll throw one more out here. Let's see what Brandon Eccles could do. He's got 26, the old Rod Woodson, Le'Veon Bell number. He's had a very good camp, kind of a journeyman player. They may be looking for somebody that could be a straight up just nickel corner instead of playing all of these. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's another big dude, and he's got some range, but very much looking forward. I just
don't know how much he's going to play.
Not in this game, so we'll look for Eccles as well. So that'll actually do it for us here, folks, for this show. I'd like to thank Brian for returning this week. It's nice to have you back. Folks, don't forget.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're watching next day, don't forget Spotify feed. One for audio, one for video. One will be updated following our YouTube watchers. Thank you for supporting Steel City Underground wherever you're watching or listening from. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. We've got football. 7 o'clock kickoff in Jacksonville. Is it still Everbank Field? I think it is. I think that's still what it is. But it's in Jacksonville. Steelers at Jaguars. Let's see how hot it is. Let's see if anybody pukes on the field like everybody does in Florida usually.
Yeah.
They've been training in some pretty damn hot weather in Latrobe, so I think they'll be ready to roll. So
sounds good to me. No Lawrence Timmons moments. I just don't need to see it.
It was stuck in his face mask. I'll never forget that. Folks, that'll do it for us. Till next time, my name's Joe. His name is Brian. Till next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.